Hello, and welcome to Inside the Mind of, a podcast where I dive deeper into the minds of some of my favorite people and people who inspire me in the wrestling community. I am your hostess with the mostest, Katie Kinsey, baby. And join with me is basically my older brother, my big brother at this point, the guy I can go to about anything. He is the host of the #1 podcast on Pornhub. He is the Warden. He, of course, is the host of Smacking It Raw. This is Mr. Matt Ritter. How you doing?
Can I talk now?
Yes, you can talk now.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. You know.
#1 wrestling podcast on Pornhub. I don't know if we're #1 overall, but wrestling-wise, #1.
I mean, how many podcasts do you think are actually on Pornhub?
Right now, I know of at least 2.
Wait, really?
There's Creation World. Well, there's everything under Creation World. So there's Super Flashy Arrow and us. Technically, those are 2 separate podcasts.
Okay. Whatever. I guess you're right.
I will say our videos have the most views, though. I think we're at like 499 with an episode that we did with Jizzy.
Wow.
Like episode 207. So
damn.
We're winning there.
Okay. Yeah, your videos do numbers on Pornhub. I don't know what it is. I mean,
trust me, I don't either. I have no idea how more people want to watch us on Pornhub than YouTube, but it is what it is. I guess it's this face.
It's exactly that face. I guess you could sprinkle Vince in there, but it's mainly Matt. So Smacking It Raw. That was the first wrestling podcast I was a guest on. Do you remember that?
It was. I do. You were super nervous.
Yep.
And I promised you not to make fun of you the first time you were on.
True.
And I held up to that promise. And then every consecutive episode after that, you got a bunch of shit.
Yep. Second episode I was on, I was Katie Vick.
That is 100% true. It was right around Halloween. It seemed suitable.
I think that was the draft you, me, and Travis did.
It might have been.
I think so.
I think you were on another one before that, but I could be wrong.
I was on a lot.
Well, you're free a lot.
That's true.
Which is nice. You and Reek are always there when I need someone.
Yeah. And as of when we're recording this, I'm on the latest episode of Smacking It Raw. That was episode 213. Did we finally decide 213?
Yeah, it's 213.
Okay. There's a lot of discussion about what number it was.
Well, I said 212. Vince said 215. We were both wrong. I was closer. I win.
That's usually how it goes. It's your show.
Yeah. Over, not under.
Yeah, it's like Price is Right rules, right?
Or under, not over. That's what it is. Yeah.
I understood what you said or meant. Jesus.
Yeah. So, what do you want to talk to me about?
So I want to talk to you about a little bit of podcasting and then just some questions I have to get to know you more. Because
okay,
we've talked a lot. We've been friends for like at least 10 months.
Roughly,
least.
Yeah.
I know like your love for horror movies and stuff like that. Clearly, if you're watching the video, you can see that in his background. But I don't know like some specific things, and we'll dive a little deeper. You don't have to say everything. You can tell me to just fuck off if you don't want to answer anything. That's fine.
Fair enough.
I think I'm a fair person.
Okay.
Alright, so we're just going to start podcasting. So, how did you get your start in podcasting?
Yeah, fuck off. I don't want to answer that. No, so basically, my best friend, one of my best friends, Travis, one of my 2 best friends, Travis, he started Creation World, which at the time was Creation Magazine, and he was podcasting. He was doing Super Flashy Arrow of Tomorrow. He was doing the Creation Conversation, hashtag Them Thrones. He was doing these podcasts, and my other best friend, who I've known since I was 3, John, who went to Columbia, which is a college out here. He went there for comedy writing and everything. they were working together along with Mara, and they were doing the stuff, and I would listen to them do it. And it's two of my best friends, and they're talking about things that I love. They're talking about movies, they're talking about TV, they're talking about all this stuff. So I wanted to be a part of it because, of course, like, my friends are doing it. This sounds cool and fun. Like, I want to try it out and see if I'm any good, and just talk to my friends about shit. Like, I thought it was cool. So I hit up Travis and I said, hey, why don't you let me come on an episode of Creation Conversation? And he goes, no. I'm like, why not? And he goes, I'm legitimately trying to make this something. Me, Mara, and John have all gone to school for this kind of stuff. Like, we're not just doing this as a side hobby. Like, we want it to be legitimate. And you have your day job and everything, so blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, fuck you. You guys are just talking, like, you have a Halloween episode coming up. You guys talk about horror movies. I know more about horror movies than every single one of you combined. Like, let me come on and do that. Like, I can add some insight. Mm-hmm. And he just kept blowing me off and telling me no. So I was running a Facebook page, which I still run, but at the time it was called Matt and Eric's Wrestling Review. Another friend of mine who was big into wrestling. We'd see each other at parties. We'd end up talking wrestling and everything. And we're like, oh, we'll start a Facebook page and kind of cover wrestling. So, well, that was going on. I figured there's a shit ton of wrestling podcasts. Creation World doesn't have one. Mm-hmm. I know Travis doesn't have anyone because, like, John wasn't watching wrestling regularly at that point. I'm like, he doesn't have anyone that he can do a wrestling podcast with. He can't cover that, and I know I can fill that gap. So I went to Travis and I told him, hey, why don't you let me do this? And he said, 2 conditions. 1, we have to name the show Smack and Raw. No problem. And 2, he doesn't want to have to be on every week. He wants to come on whenever he feels like it. I need my own co-host because he's already doing a bunch of other shows. He didn't want to be involved. Fair. So I went to Eric and I got Eric, and Eric agreed. That lasted about a year, and then Eric got tired of, he said it felt like work, and he didn't want wrestling to feel like work. So he bowed out. You know, that's basically how it started. Was I just harassed Travis until he gave me a podcast.
I feel like a lot of your friendship, from what I've seen with Travis, especially in the podcast, is you harassing him about something and him either caving to do it or him just not doing it ever.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there's a lot of money that got left on the table with wrestling inspired dildos, Pogs on Pogs, OneFall, the wrestling dating app. But, you know, if he doesn't want to be a billionaire, that's on him.
I remember you talking about the wrestling dating app on the 200th episode.
OneFall.
OneFall.
Yeah, OneFall. Yeah.
I actually thought it was a clever idea.
I did too. I have a lot of clever ideas, like Pornhub. That was all me.
That's true. Pornhub was your idea, and you're the #1 wrestling podcast.
See, Travis says he has all these connects and all these people to make things happen, and then nothing happens. So, and then I asked him, he's like, "Oh no, I don't really." He had a guy that could do an algorithm to blah 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 for the dating app. Didn't happen. He had a dildo guy. Apparently, didn't really have a dildo guy. So,
that just sounds like an uncle who's just like, oh, I got a guy for that.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, do you actually have a guy for that?
He gave me a name and everything, but dildos never got made.
Now, I don't even know if I should be... What about these wrestling-related dildos? I'm very curious about those.
All it really was dildos inspired by wrestling terms or wrestlers. So, like,
okay,
you'd have, like, the Monster Among Men, which would be a really big one. Or, like, the WMD, which would be shaped in the size of Big Show's fist. Like, stuff like that. Like, the Big Red Machine, you know, a lot of novelty oversized dildos based on wrestlers and wrestlers' terms. Like,
okay.
You get, like, the American Badass, it'd be like an American flag.
Okay.
Color dildo, like different shit like that.
Okay. I remember you telling, like, I've heard you say the wrestling dildos thing before, but I never, like, asked and was, like, inquiring about it.
I don't know what episode it was on, but there was a whole episode where we just talked wrestling. Not for the whole episode, but there is an episode where wrestling inspired dildos is part of the show. And that was when it was just me and Travis after Eric left.
Oh, so it was like early on.
Kind of. So like I said, Eric made it like a year and a half, and then I think Travis and I did, because we're on 4 years now, so I think Travis and I did a little over a year, maybe a year and a half, just the two of us. And then the collaboration started, and I got Vince, and we've been running with Vince when he shows up ever since.
Yeah, when he shows up.
And you and Reek.
Yeah. I'm basically a part of Smacking It Raw at this point.
Honorary member.
Honorary member. I'll take it. It's fine. So, 4 years. Over 200 episodes, we'll say. Probably when this comes out, 215.
Well, yeah, maybe 214, 215.
214, 215. So that's a lot of episodes. Do you have any favorite episodes that you've done? Off the top of your head.
Most recently, episode 210 with you, me, Charlie, and Kyle from Apron Bow.
The clusterfuck episode.
That is one of my favorites. The 200th episode as well, one of my favorites. That was just a big party. That was great.
That was also their favorite.
It kind of changes because, especially after doing it for 4 years, like you go back and you listen to what you were doing 4 years ago, and you're like, oh, I thought this was great, and this was shit.
Yep.
And now I listen to myself 4 years later, and I feel like what I'm doing now is great. And if I'm still doing this in 4 years, I'll be like, God, that was terrible. Why was I doing that? Like, really anything that I did collaboration wise. So like I've worked with those wrestling girls. Travis and I did that show. That was really fun. We had a great talk.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, I've worked with you and Reek a lot. TC, another one of my favorite episodes was when I wasn't even on. It was when I was on my honeymoon. It was Vince, TC, and Travis. Vince and TC filled in for me with Travis. Travis was really drunk singing theme songs to old TV shows. That's where the beef between Travis and TC started, when TC slandered Bret Hart.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really good one. Yeah, working with the Deadass Girls, working with Jizzy is always fun and ridiculous, and we have a blast.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to do some other really cool shit. Like I've got to work with Frank Mandolini from Last Minute Wrestling, who's over in Italy. I got to work with Foul Original, and he actually, when his album dropped, I was the first stop on his album release tour where he was going around promoting it. So that was really cool. And I stayed up and talked to him even after the show was over for like hours, just picking his brain and discussing stuff about podcasting and all that, which I learned a lot, and that was really cool. Yeah, so those, I mean, everything with Kyle from Apron Bump is hilarious. Kenny as well. Me and Kenny always have a blast giving each other shit. And yeah, so any real like collaboration episode is always my favorite, but the ones that I can remember specifically that I can point out would be episode 200, which is our anniversary show, 210, because that was just ridiculous, and then I don't know the number, but if you go back and look, it's Travis, TC, and Vince.
Okay. So, like you said, you weren't there for that episode because you're on your honeymoon. How many episodes have you not been a part of for Smacking It Raw?
Out of 213 episodes, I wouldn't say I've missed more than 10.
Wow.
Yeah. I think the episode, which was back in 2017, when I was on my honeymoon. Wait, was it my honeymoon episode? Yeah, it had to have been my honeymoon episode. Why does that feel like that was? Doesn't seem right. Like.
Now you're like questioning everything.
Well, yeah, because no, we got married. Maybe. No, I'm sorry. I am wrong. So I was not on my honeymoon when that happened, because when I was on my honeymoon was when Travis and Eric did a show without me, and they said that the inmates were running the asylum, and that's when I got the nickname the Warden when I came back, because that's what happened. I was on vacation when TC and Vince did that show with Travis. And I don't, if I go on vacation with the wife, I don't podcast. And that would have been, I believe, 2019, 2020. So it would have been within the last year or two that they did that. Maybe it was, we went to Knoxville, but it might have been Knoxville. Irregardless, that is a very fun episode. But yeah, no, unless I've been on vacation, which we only go once a year, and now that we have the kid,
I was gonna say, yeah,
we'll
you missed an episode because of the birth of your daughter.
Yeah, almost. Well, I mean, I did, but I almost didn't. Like, probably could have done it. The wife was passed out. I got to watch SmackDown, but yeah, no, I wouldn't say more than 10 have I missed.
That's crazy. I mean,
Travis made me take some time off,
yeah.
so like he forces me to sometimes, but
Having a break every once in a while is good. If you do it consistently enough, and it's basically you running it, having a break every once in a while is needed.
yeah, I guess. I mean, so I critique everything I do,
Mm-hmm.
podcast wise. So not only do I do the show,
Yep.
but then a day or two later, I listen back to it, and I listen to all the things I say, all of the names I fuck up.
Yep.
As you'll hear in the last episode, names I fuck up and words I stutter on, stuff like that, and I try to learn from that and get better for the next episode. I look at what I said that made my co-host laugh and how that worked out, and try and center my humor and the things that I do around that to make it a more fun and engaging show for everyone.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of critiquing, so it's not just doing a show every week, but it's also listening back to that show and critiquing it, and then
Mhm.
preparing the entire next week for the show. We're now covering 5 fucking shows.
It's a lot.
So
It's alright, you never have to worry about dark elevation or dark. I got you.
I will never worry about anything on YouTube or on Peacock only, unless NXT goes to Peacock only, because I do love me some NXT.
That's true. Especially new NXT. We kind of fucks with new NXT.
We'll see.
I said kind
It's only
of.
been 1 episode. I still prefer my fans behind cages, but that's just it.
I know you prefer your fans behind cages.
It's where they belong.
I know. So with these 4 years and these 200 episodes and the astronomical amount of collaborations you've done, unexpected moments tend to happen. Like, for example, the clusterfuck episode where Drunk, Mara, and Travis showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any moments like that you can think of that left an impact on the episode, or just like with you in general?
So normally the shit that's unexpected with the episode, outside of regular technical glitches where like you'll freeze and I'll think that I'll have to kind of stop the show or whatever,
Yeah.
or Travis is froze and I start worrying about it, and then he comes back and it's like, oh, I'll just pick up where we left off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's happened where like one of us has just dropped connection, we've stopped the show and then just tried to pick it up right where we left off, restarted recording, blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
most of the unexpected shit happens after the episodes come out. Like Kenny's episode randomly getting kicked off Pornhub for not meeting Pornhub's requirements or violating their like that episode with Kenny from Kenny for Your Thoughts got removed from Pornhub. It was one of only like 2 or 3 episodes that got removed from Pornhub, weirdly, for violating their terms of service or some shit like that. We still don't know what exactly it violated or what we could have done on Pornhub that was not worthy of being on Pornhub, seeing as we all stayed clothed and nobody was fucking, which also would not get you kicked off Pornhub. But like, yeah, we have no idea why, but that got removed, so that was weird. We've got random content strikes,
Interesting.
just from the short little songs I play while Travis looks for panda gifts when he's on.
Oh yeah, that would make sense though.
So when that comes out, like when that first happened, that was kind of like, oh, but yeah, other than that, no, nothing really sticks in my mind as, oh shit, that was crazy. Like, I'm pretty good with taking what comes at me and trying to make it into something beautiful. So
That's true.
there's not much you can throw at me unless like you get crazy, like racist or homophobic or like misogynistic or something, and like I've just got to kick you out of the show, which has not happened yet, thank God. There's not really much you can throw my way that I can't handle.
Was there ever something anyone said that was just so like off the wall, and then it just resulted in like everyone laughing or everyone just being like, yo, what the fuck?
Not on a recorded episode, I don't think. I mean, the most off the wall shit that gets said either comes out of my mouth or Jizzy's mouth when she's on the show. I
Very
feel like
true.
we are the two most flagrant people with that. I mean, obviously, there's Vince and his Sheamus Stan
Blasphemy.
greatest blasphemy, greatest mass wrestler of all time shit, but like
Bullshit.
that's nothing crazy. So I feel like the most crazy shit either is coming out of my mouth or if Jizzy's on, but again, she hasn't thrown anything at me where I just had to like stop myself and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, so.
Okay. I'm always just curious. Because
I mean, ask TC. TC has to move the show on when I'm on his show because I'll say the ridiculous shit.
Yep.
I'm the one that he's got to move on from.
And that just means you're very quick-witted. You're very quick on your feet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's something I've noticed working with you these past 10 months. It's very entertaining.
I try. Got to keep the brain going.
Yeah. And you can... I always like it when someone can make me laugh. I also just laugh too easily. But anytime I do a show with you, I'm cracking up. And I'm trying to, like, hold it back. Like, you were saying some... I don't remember what you were saying this past episode. I think you were describing SmackDown.
Oh, you mean the triple threat match? Or the handicap match?
Yeah, the handicap match. And then...
Yeah.
Everything you were saying, like, after that, I was almost in tears. I was laughing so hard, and I don't know why.
So that is one thing that, I mean, even Jizzy, I believe, did an episode with us, and she said, not too long ago, and she's like, that was one of the more entertaining rundowns that she has heard of, because I tell it, like, when I have people on who I'm not sure if they've actually watched my show.
Yeah.
I have to give them a heads up is what we do, because I've had a couple instances where you're like, yeah, we'll come on your show, and then I'm like, hey, are you spitting or swallowing? And they kind of look at me like I've got two heads, and it's like, this is what we do. This is our show. Like, apparently you didn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
So I try and break everything down and tell everyone ahead of time, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to run down the show. It's going to be a little biased, and then I'll ask you what you spit and what you swallowed. If you swallowed it, it means you like it. If you spit it, it means you didn't. And if you're unsure, you can say you gargled undecidedly. My favorite thing about our show, since I've been doing that, is the people that have taken this opportunity to just get as weird and graphic with it as possible, where you'll get like, oh, I'd swallow it and then I'd gag it back up and then I'd swallow it again, or I'd spit it into someone else's mouth and then let them spit it back in my mouth and I'd swallow it. Like, just the weird shit that people like, snowballing, just fun weird ways people come up to say that they want to swallow. Or people like TC originally who refused to say he was going to swallow, so he would just take a sip of his drink.
Oh, okay.
To signify that he swallowed. He's loosened up a little bit. I've broken him down.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And I hate, like, constantly referring to this episode, but Kyle, anytime he would spit or swallow, he would just describe... I can't remember anything he said off the top of my head, but the way he would just describe it, instead of just being like, oh, I'll spit it, I'll swallow, he was just like, no, like, I won't look, and I'll just do that.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Well, no, please keep talking about this episode, so anyone who hears this is like, that 210th episode sounds like something I need to go hear, and we can get those views up. So, yeah, keep plugging as much as you want.
Oh, okay. I'll do my best. And, I mean, speaking of that, the first time I was on, I knew you guys did, like, the spit swallow, because, like, I already followed you on Twitter and everything, obviously, because you slid my DMs. You're like, hey, do you want to be on my show? Do you want to make your Pornhub debut? And I was
it's always weird. It's because you were new to Smack Raw.
I was.
At the time. And I wanted to get more women on the show. And you were one of the people that I was somewhat familiar with from your work on Smack Raw, and I think I even did an episode of Smack Raw with you at that point. But going to, like, I guessed, I think, on an episode with you, but
so.
Going to a stranger, let alone a woman, mind you, as a married man.
Yep.
Which I always have to be very cautious about to make sure I'm not giving off the wrong impression. But also to do that and be like, hey, would you like to come on Pornhub with me? Because you have to tell someone that they're on Pornhub. You can't just be like, do you want to come do my show, and not tell them they're going to be on Pornhub. That is vital information that people need to know before they make that decision, because if you put someone on Pornhub without their knowledge and consent, that is not a good thing to do.
True.
So you always have to lead with, by the way, this is on Pornhub. It can be awkward. It's hard to do. So,
and like I said, that was like my first guest appearance, and I think I was only doing Smack Draw, maybe like 2 months at that point.
Yeah,
I was very new as a child.
Vince was still over there too, I think.
Yeah,
he had not come on board yet. So,
damn, it feels like so long ago at this point now.
Well, Vince, who is now my co-host, he popped my podcast collaboration cherry, essentially. Like, he hit me up. So, first off, there was Smacked Raw and there was Smacking It Raw.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know, as I always like to say, is Smacking It Raw is your Kellogg's name brand cereal, and Smacked Raw is your Great Value Cocoa Roo's bargain brand cereal version of us. Or, as I put it to Kyle when he did our show the last time, we're AEW, and he's the watered-down WWE PG version of us, which he did not like. So I had seen that there was another show named somewhat similar to ours, and I looked and saw that they were not around as long as us. So I noted that as, oh, they want to be us. They tried to steal our name. Our name wasn't available, so they just made a knockoff version.
They're
of
close.
Us. Vince saw us, thought the same thing, but didn't look to see how many episodes we had or how long we had been doing it. But then I guess he looked and saw that my profile said I was from Chicago and blah, 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 blah. And he's from Chicago. So he's like, all right, this guy seems kind of cool. Let me hit him up and see if he wants to do the show. So I did an episode of NXT with Vince and RN, and they were cool as shit. And it was through that I got to meet TC, because I did, I believe, an episode with TC. We did some UWOs that I was involved in, where I got to work with Benji. And then when Travis needed some time off, I needed to tap into the vast network of friends that I have made through podcasting, get some people to come fill in, and everyone was more than willing to. And that's when I really got into doing a lot of the collaborations. Like, it wasn't that long ago that most of these collaborations have kind of grown and happened and been a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Vince was my first. Never forget your first.
Never forget your first. True. Very true.
Yeah.
So besides podcasting, we're gonna move away from it now. We're just gonna get to some normal questions. So, and like I said before, you're very big into horror movies. In case
mostly rom-coms, but horror movies are alright.
Whatever. Look at your wall. Look at your tattoo of.
Are you trying to tell me Halloween's not a rom-com?
It's not a rom-com.
It's 100% a rom-com.
How is Halloween a rom-com?
It's unrequited love, and the comedy part is the fact they're brother and sister, and she doesn't realize it.
Stop.
Kind of like Star Wars.
Stop it.
Just saying.
Stop it. So, what else do you like to do in the little bit of free/spare time you have?
Most of my free/spare time I spend with the wife and the kid, especially now. Me and the wife like going to conventions before, COVID hit and ruined our world.
Yep.
There was horror movie conventions. We go to C2E2, which is kind of like the Chicago specific version of Comic-Con. We've been to Wizard World Comic-Con here in Chicago together. We love TV and movies, so we have a slew of TV shows that we both either watch together or watch separately, and then talk to each other about. Like, she'll tell me about Outlander, even though I don't watch Outlander, and I do my best, and I'm terrible at it, to not make fun of it, because I can be an asshole. I try not to. But yeah, that I tinker with Legos when I get the chance to in free time. It's been a while,
Okay.
Especially now with the kid. I'm afraid she's gonna take them and eat them, but
That's
I do.
True.
That's something I got into more recently, was Legos within the last couple of years. Just randomly had a friend who was doing it. I'm like, oh, that looks kind of cool, and I looked some shit up, and I really like Harry Potter, which as a result of my wife, because I never watched it before I met her. Really, like I had seen some shit, but I wasn't into it. She was a big Harry Potter fan, so she got me into that. Then I saw some really cool Harry Potter Lego sets and Star Wars sets, and then I started building those, and it became a thing. She was doing it too, so that was something that we'd kind of do together. We both go get a set, build one, watch a movie, puzzles, stuff like that.
Okay, it's like married people shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm about it. So you mentioned Harry Potter. So
Yeah.
What was your knowledge of Harry Potter before you like met her and she sucked you in?
So for me, I had a cousin who was very into Harry Potter, who was younger.
Okay.
She's a few years younger than my sister's. 4 years younger than me. I think she's a year or two younger than my sister, so she's about 5 or 6 years younger than me.
Okay.
So I always looked at it, especially at the time it came out. I think I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
It's like shit for little kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what it was. It was like weird wizardy shit for little kids. Like I never really got into it, but like I said, my wife was really into it. So when I found out she was really into it, she had all the movies and everything like that, and she had sat down and done like a marathon of Friday the 13th with me, because she knew I was big into horror.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, I think, I don't remember what it was, but something happened and we started watching the Harry Potter movies because I knew it was her thing, and I watched all of them from beginning to end. Order of the Phoenix is still my favorite book, because I also read the books thanks to her, because she had all the books, and
Mm-hmm.
I normally don't read, not really my thing, but I read them. She really got me into it, so.
Okay. I just like hearing that other people like Harry Potter, so I'm a big Harry Potter fan.
I was gonna say we got to go to Florida and visit the Wizarding World, which was cool. We got wands and shit. I was just trying to get like a cool looking wand. She wanted me to get one that interacted with shit, and I was too cool to do it. So like, I'm not waving a wand at a fucking window and making it move, but she was all excited. Got to have some butterbeer, some other shit, so we had fun.
I've never been to Universal, to the Wizarding World.
Go on all these fucking vacations. Go to fucking Disney.
I know. I've literally never been to Disney, and I want to. Well, I can't, because next year I'm going back to Vegas, so that's gonna be a lot of money. That's 4th of July weekend.
I feel like there's somebody that you should take to Florida and do the whole Wizarding World experience with, that I think you guys would both have a really fun time. And you guys could both use that vacation.
Okay. We'll see.
We know a guy. You and I both know a guy.
We do know a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Vegas.
Yeah. That's all. That's all.
Oh, did I make this awkward for you? My bad.
No, it's fine. I was just trying to think of a transition, but that's fine. So.
Transition to what? Maybe I can help you.
Well, my next question was, I asked this, like, they're the same questions I asked Reek, and I'm going to ask everyone else.
Okay.
Is, if you could have, so do you remember, like, the table for 3 thing on the network?
Yes.
This would be like a table for 4. So you could have a dinner and a conversation with any 3 wrestlers, dead or alive. Who would they be and why?
Okay, so here's how we do that transition. Speaking of that guy, I recently did a podcast episode with him where I asked him this question, and then you asked me the question. That's how you go about it.
Okay. Do you want me to do the transition?
Oh no, we're good. So 4 people that wrestling, dead or alive, that I could sit down.
Well, it'd be you and 3 other people.
Oh, me and 3 other people.
Yeah.
So, all-time favorite wrestler, The Undertaker. I would love to sit down and talk to him about his career, stuff like that. See, my problem is I've had an opportunity to actually sit down and do this with a wrestler, and I completely marked out and just asked like the most generic, dumb wrestling fan questions, like, oh, what's your favorite match, this and that. And I don't ever want to do that again. It's part of the reason why I don't do interviews on our show, is because I know I'm going to get sucked into like the awe of how I'm talking to someone that I really respect and love their work and this and that, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna be a dumb fan and say dumb fan shit. But Bray Wyatt, absolutely would love to sit down and talk to him. Paige, I think would be a really fun, interesting
Okay.
interview, and she is one of the first actual female wrestlers that I enjoyed her wrestling work.
Okay.
Um, and so Undertaker, Bray Wyatt, and Paige. So yeah, it'd be those three.
I sense a theme with your wrestlers. A little,
No idea
little,
what you're talking
little
about.
bit on the spooky side.
I mean, I didn't say Boogeyman.
Okay, but like the darker, the not even darker themed, but like more like the gothic or type side.
Yeah, no, that's as a horror movie fan, I lean towards those characters. Those are some of my favorites. That's why I really liked Malachi Black when he showed up.
Mhm.
I'm really digging what Alexa Bliss has been doing with Lily, because those Kane, before he became a mayor and took his mask off, they resonate with me more, especially Undertaker and Kane, kind of where that love came in for me because they resemble a lot of two of my favorite horror movie characters, which are Michael Myers and Jason, which slashers are my favorite.
Mhm.
So
And I just found out today from you and Reek that Undertaker got his like the sit up from Michael Myers.
yeah, you found that out from Greek. I just co-signed.
Well, whatever. You were a part of the conversation, which I got to do all the horror movie so far, the horror movie episodes of Having Hour with you.
Yep,
For very
which has been fun.
entertaining.
Especially because you had not seen the majority of the Halloween movies and had no idea what the fuck we were talking about, but then went and rewatched them, and then you were like, "Oh, that makes so much more sense now."
Yeah, and I binged
So.
Friday the 13th
You did.
to do that 2-part 4-hour episode.
That was ridiculous.
At the end we all were just like, let's
And that's one
go.
thing. Like, if I wasn't wrestling podcasting, that's what I would be doing. Actually, that's what I was originally supposed to be doing is horror movie YouTube videos. There are actually a couple videos on YouTube with another friend of mine who was trying to do something similar to what Travis created, but straight just YouTube, where I was doing originally it was called Slasher 101, and it was me covering, breaking down, and getting in depth with specific horror movie series and blah 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 blah. So there are I think 1 or 2 episodes of that came out, but it was a long drive for me to get out there, and shit just didn't work out the way. This is so much easier doing it via Zoom. But if I wasn't doing wrestling podcasting, I'd be doing horror podcasting.
Okay. And you've dabbled in writing.
And wouldn't say I dabble in writing. I write stuff down. I do not consider myself a writer. I'm more of a, even with the podcast, I have ideas.
Okay.
I'm not very good with taking those ideas on paper and building a story around them.
Okay.
I come up with ideas, I can type out ideas, dialogue, setting, all that stuff. That's not me. But I can come up with great ideas and give them to somebody who's good at dialogue and scenery and then help fashion a fantastic story.
I feel like you need to, because it just seeing a like Matt Ritter creation come to life would be very interesting.
Well, we can talk to Travis about One Fall and see if we can make that happen.
I still think it needs to happen.
I should be rich and retired right now, and he's fucking up.
That's fucked up,
I'd rather
Travis.
play D&D.
And not do a podcast on it like he said he was going to.
Well, eventually, one day. It'll happen.
Maybe.
We eventually got our Patreon out and the website up and all that. It did happen one day, so eventually it'll be a D&D podcast.
4 years later, we'll see the
Okay.
D&D podcast.
You get at least one episode. I can promise that.
One episode? Okay.
At least one.
At least one. Okay. Good to know. I don't know anything about D&D, so... Do you?
Not really, no. I mean, I like that whole aspect of fantasy stuff. Like, I really enjoyed the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I like RPGs. But but as far as D&D goes, outside of what I've learned doing it with Travis, I didn't know a lot about it. I had a cousin who was really into it. Like, they actually had like a pool table where him and his dad and their friends would like actually do campaigns and shit.
Oh wow.
At that point, I was like 10 or 11, and it seemed really nerdy to me even then. So I never got into it, but it seems like fun. Travis actually took us through a tutorial with a guy who does it, and because it's us, we're gonna make it on brand with what we do. So it's gonna be a lot of me like shoving my hand up people's asses and things that I say and do. So
Well, if it ever comes out, when it comes out, I'll watch it or listen.
I think we actually tripped the guy out because he's like, we had gotten to a point in the story, and he goes, all right, so you found this person, what do you want to do? And I'm like, can I give him a cavity search? Like, I want to make sure he doesn't have anything on him. He goes, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have anything on him. Like, I feel like I should give him a cavity search just in case. Like, you never know what's in his prison pocket. He could be hiding anything up there. It might be valuable. And that was about the point where we cut the show off. I also had John yeet me at a villain at one point. It was like, just toss me. Just toss me at him.
Yeet.
So, yeah, we had fun.
Oh my god. Sorry, I'm visualizing everything you're saying as Jesus. Okay.
And I plan on doing it all on the Rack's voice, so that should also be...
Oh, no.
You want to talk about the Rack? We can talk about the Rack.
Do you want to talk about the Rack?
We can. This is your show. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Let's talk about... Explain to the people who don't know who and or what the Rack is.
All right, so there's an episode of our podcast that is out called HKW, the greatest wrestling company you've never heard of, or something like that. The Rise and Fall of HKW, the greatest wrestling company you've never heard of. HKW was a backyard wrestling company that me, Travis, and my buddy Phil and Herbie and some of our friends in the town that I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago used to put on my trampoline in my backyard. And we all had all these characters that we created. And I decided that I was going to mock The Rock because it was Travis's favorite character by creating a character called The Rack, who would do the People's Low Blow and the Rack Bottom and Mr. Racco. So he was kind of like a mock character mix of the Rock and Sock connection, but he would always lose by DQ because he's always hitting you in the dick. So he never won a match.
Yeah.
He didn't really have the voice or anything at that point. It's just Travis was a big Rock fan, so I wanted like my Gilbert for Travis to mock his favorite character. That's what I wanted to do. So that character existed, and then we were doing the podcast, and my friend Phil, who used to backyard wrestle with us, came on one episode. I think it was a pay-per-view recap that we were doing. We did those back in the day, and I thought it would be fun to randomly bring this character out. So I created a whole thing for him. I put glasses on, and I did a as Reek put it, Dusty Rhodes with a lot of sugar in the tank impersonation.
That's a good way to put it.
And it got a laugh, but also made everyone feel really weird and awkward, and I enjoyed the shit out of that, so I would continue to randomly do it. I even did weird little skits where like I'd pretend like I wasn't the Rack.
Yep.
And like he would knock me out and come take my place on the show.
Oh my
and he would
God.
talk shit about me. So like, hold on.
Oh my God, are you... Stop. Yes.
So you get something along the lines of, finally the Rack has come back to the Smack and Raw podcast. I do not know why that idiot Matt Ritter does not have me on more often. If he wants views on Pornhub, you need the Rack on your show, baby. Listen, I am the greatest thing to ever happen. Matt Ritter is an idiot. This podcast is failing because of him. If he wants views, if he wants fame, he needs the Rack on the show, baby. How are you, Katie?
Oh my God, I'm great. This is great.
That is good. That is good. I don't know if you see, now everyone says it's great to have the Rack on until the Rack is on their show, and then all of a sudden things get awkward and they don't want the Rack around anymore. That's kind of how this happens.
I'm a big fan of the Rack.
So basically, I would say that the Rack is a gender fluid trisexual,
Yes.
because they'll try anything once, stuff like that. And I just kind of use it to make people like get them out of their comfort zone and fuck with them and kind of make them crack on air. So that was a thing. And then I was worried that maybe the character might come off offensive, so I kind of stopped doing it because I didn't want, while I was having fun with it, I didn't want people to think that I was making fun of them.
Yeah.
Or to take it as, me insulting people in the LBGTQ community, because we do support them. Q.
Yeah.
Yeah, community. I don't want them to think I was making fun of them or mocking them or making a mockery of that. So I kind of killed that character off because I felt like at one point it may have gotten to a point to where people may be offended by it. So that's why you don't see the Rack on our show much at all. Definitely not in the ridiculous capacity at which he was at one point. But if you go back and you watch our entire library, you'll find some really awkward gems of the Rack in there. So
the Rack made a cameo in the 200th episode.
He did. He had to stop by and say hi.
That was my first taste of the Rack, I think.
Yeah. So
always a good time. Even just that little cameo just made my night.
Well, he can be fun, and if I can find a way to use him to where he doesn't come off as offensive or in a mocking way, I try to. But again, when you get into characters, sometimes you're not realizing what's going on until everything's said and done. Now, I personally don't think I've said anything offensive or wrong, but like I said, I don't want it to come off that way or people to think that, I'm doing something offensive on purpose. So.
Yeah. And with you doing this so long and you have so much experience doing this, do you have any advice for anyone who would be either getting into podcasting or just anything in general? It doesn't have to be podcast related, just any advice.
With anything, like for me, this isn't my day job. I don't make money doing this. Travis makes all the money and tells us he doesn't make any and then keeps it all for himself. If it's something you enjoy doing, do it for the love of it. That's why I keep doing the show. It isn't because I think we're going to get famous or I'm going to make money doing this or this is going to be my career. I love meeting people. I love talking to people. I love talking to people about something I love. I love creating entertainment for people, and I love the fact that people actually listen to my show and enjoy what I do. And the only way you are going to get people to enjoy what you are putting out is if you truly enjoy what you are doing. So don't try in podcasting, don't try and copy someone else because you think what they're doing is successful, or don't try to change what you enjoy doing to fit anyone else's construct of what they think you should be doing. Do what you have fun doing, and if you have fun doing it, people are going to have fun listening to it.
The do it for the love of it is something similar to what Reek said too.
Yeah, because I told him to say it.
You guys were...
No, I didn't.
I was going to say, you before this you said you didn't even have time to listen to it yet, so...
Shh. Behind the scenes stuff.
This is the point of this. Let people behind the scenes a little bit.
No, I've been really busy and I haven't got to, but I do plan on it. It is in my queue.
You listen to a lot of podcasts.
I do. I try to support everyone that supports us, and that's another thing that I want to impart on people is support the people that support you. That is one of the things that I've done that have kind of helped us grow is the Get Yo podcast, Young Kings Wrestling, She Elite Showcase, Smacked Raw, Kenny for Your Thoughts, Apron Bump, Last Minute Wrestling Podcast, The Angle Radio. All of these podcasts that we've worked with have been collaborations from people who have supported us, listened to our show, told me that they enjoy what we do, and I make sure that I spread that love. Something I've most recently started doing to show a little love back is when I put out an episode, I wait a couple days, to see who liked and retweeted it, and then I give them all a shout out thanking them for supporting us, to
Mm-hmm.
get their names out there so that the people that are following me, if they haven't, can go check them out, check out their shows, maybe give them a follow, help grow their following a little bit.
Yeah,
So support those that support you, and fuck everyone else.
I agree. Wholeheartedly agree with that statement. So, you're in your early 30s, right?
Barely.
Early 30s. You have a wife, you have a kid. You've
Yes.
told me many stories from your youth about things you have done. But
You and Vince and Reek, yeah.
a few of us know some stories about you.
Story time.
Story time with Matt Ritter, baby.
Yeah, except when it's story time with Matt Ritter, it's actually story time.
It's actually story time. But if you could write an autobiography, what would be the title and why would you choose that title?
That is a very good question. Now I really wish I had listened to your episode with Reek so I could have thought about that beforehand. I guess, as weird as it sounds, because I'm sure a lot of people are listening to this and they're expecting something dirty or ridiculous, because that's kind of my brain and what I do. It would be advice that I've given to a lot of people that I've talked to throughout my life and online. Is the name of the podcast would be Push Through. Or not the podcast, the autobiography would be Push Through, It's Gonna Get Better.
Okay.
We all go through ups and downs. We all struggle. Part of me telling you guys all these stories about my youth and my past and everything that we've been through was because looking back on some of the stuff, it's funny and we get a good laugh and everything like that, but it also helps me reflect on the fact that where I am now at 34 years old is probably the best place I've ever been. I've had a lot of experiences and a lot of adventures, some good, some bad. Looking back on them, at the time I thought they were bad, they ended up being good. I've been rejected, I've been hurt, blah blah blah, but I didn't give up. I pushed through, and eventually things got better. So now I'm here.
Yeah. Look where you are now. And you have that's kind of why I said you're kind of like my big brother in the beginning, because I can go to you for advice. I mean, you have seen me at my lows too many times, and you are always there to just kind of like give me advice and tell me stories to kind of relate it, being like, well, you're not alone, I went through something similar like this.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
It's very important, which is something that you've talked about on your show, for people to realize, whether it's someone that you may know personally in your family or a friend that you've met online, that when you are going through something, when you are struggling, there are people out there that you can find and talk to help you kind of, if not just get it off your chest, maybe try to see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Mental health is very important, and it is something that, without getting into too much detail, because it's not my story to tell, something that I've been working with and dealing with over the last few years to kind of understand better, because I personally at least didn't know when it was happening. Felt like I had never really gone through any mental health issues. Like, I realize now that there are times where I'm dealing with anxiety and stuff, and it just never registered to me as that's what it was.
Yeah.
And becoming more familiar with what anxiety and depression and things are, I've learned more about it. So, and I've had friends, one friend who suffered from severe depression, committed suicide. So I've seen that happen. I've gone through that. I've lost people in my life, quite a few actually, not from suicide and depression, but just in general.
Yeah.
So it's very important for me to make sure that if someone is in need of someone to talk to or to vent to, or if I can help in any way, shape, or form, that I am available to my friends so that they have someone.
Mm-hmm. And, well, A, thank you for opening up about that when you didn't have to. And B, that's something Rick and I talked about with his interview, and something I've talked about on my show. I'm going to continue to talk about. If you're watching the video version of this, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and the Crisis Text line are there. I'm always going to have them on screen now, just because I think it is important to have and to be, or more so to just say you can talk to somebody, whether it's, hell, you can talk to me. I'm here to listen. People listen to me all the time. Matt being one of them. That's why he's here. Like Reek, Justin, all these friends I've made, I can talk to them. If I ever needed to, I could use one of these lifelines, basically. And I think, especially recently, with things kind of going on, especially in the wrestling community, it's important to talk to someone, talk to whoever, be able to express yourself, and get the help if you need it.
I agree with that. And also, reach out. Like, don't. I feel like a lot of people are going to listen to this and hear this and be like, yeah, okay, well, you have friends, so you have people to reach out to. I don't feel like I have anyone. I don't want to talk to a stranger, blah, blah, blah. Or these people don't want to hear my problems. Mm-hmm. They're, reach out. Because if you keep it to yourself and you let it build up and you never take that chance, you'll never know if someone will be willing to listen, to talk to you, anything like that. And it's not going to help you to just keep it into yourself. It never hurts to reach out and try and find someone to talk to help you through these problems.
Yeah.
Communication is very, very important in all of your relationships, friendships, marriages, dating, so on and so forth. Very, very important. It is one of the reasons why I'm still married, is because we have great communication, my wife and I. So.
Yeah, and I kind of talked about it. I don't know if I actually talked about it on the podcast. I might have. I feel like it's been a while already. I was not doing too hot mentally for a minute, and I just let everything build up. But then it took a breakdown for me to finally be like, all right, I gotta talk to somebody, and that's when I reached out. And then you reached out to me after the fact too.
Well, after you told everyone that you were okay and you had a breakdown, I was like, oh, hey, just making sure everything's okay, because normally I'd hear about it and I didn't hear about it. So
yeah, it's more so, like you said, the I don't want to bother people with my problems thing. But that's something I'm working on. That's something.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's perfect.
No. I mean, you look at me and you think I am.
Alright, whatever. So, onto a lighter note.
Not you specifically, with people watching at home.
Yeah. I've seen you enough. Onto a lighter note, which I feel like I want to have a mental health conversation every time I do this now, because it's 2 in a row and it's very good to have. With Smacking It Raw, or just anything else in general, what are some of your future plans for the show, or anything else you're doing in the future?
I want to collaborate with more podcasts. I'd like to kind of spread. We've created a great little community of podcasts that I love working with, but I worry that people are going to get too used to or tired of hearing us talk to the same people every week. So I want to kind of spread our wings and bring in, not necessarily more people into our tiny little community, but work with more people.
Yeah.
And then once I find out if they're cool and they don't suck, then maybe bring them in. But no, I definitely want to work with more podcasts, kind of see what else is out there, who else is out there, what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if I've worked with someone who's been podcasting for 10 months or 2 years. Every person that I work with, they have their own way of podcasting. They have their own style. They have their own thing.
Yeah.
And you learn a little bit from everybody. What works for them, what didn't work for them, what they like, what they don't like, blah, blah, blah. So for me, it's mostly, even though Vince wants to be monogamous, it's branching out and meeting more people and kind of learning as I go. I'd love to get merch sold and make money from doing this and blah, blah, blah. But again, I do this for fun. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. If it does, that'd be fucking awesome. But more than, I want to spread the love around for a podcast that may not get the exposure that we've been lucky to get from the collaborations and things we've done and the people that we make connections with. But to do that for them as well, but also to work with other people who have a bigger platform to kind of bring everyone that we work with up. Because, you know, if one of us goes and works with someone and then we're all working together, the more views that come in, they get spread around. So,
I agree. And you'll be doing, so this is coming out in October. I'm not sure when in October that's happening, but the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Yep.
That's something else we'll be doing. I'm not going to be on that episode, so I don't know logistics.
As far as I know, it's me, TC, and Reek.
Yes.
I know TC really wanted to be on that. I'm assuming it's going to be similar to our Halloween and Friday 13th episodes. I want to listen back to the Halloween episode and actually sit down and listen to Friday 13th now that the audio finally came out, Reek. Because I'm not... So, you like podcasting and watching people on YouTube.
Yes.
That's how you listen to your podcast. You like visuals. You like to see the people. I like to listen to podcasts when I'm driving.
Yeah.
So I'm an audio listener. You're a video listener.
Mm-hmm.
So I never got to go back and listen to the 2-part Friday 13th episode because I didn't want to sit down in front of YouTube and watch us do it. I wanted to listen to it while I was driving around. So now I have that opportunity. So now I can listen back and, again, kind of critique and talk to Reek and see, okay, I really like this from this episode. I like this from this episode. Let's kind of combine it and make it something.
Yeah. I recently just watched the Halloween one back because I was basically a bystander and just watched you and him go at it. I gave input on one part, and it was about oh god, which movie was it? 4? 5? Fuck, which one was it? I think it was 4.
I don't know.
With her boyfriend named Michael in the car.
Yeah. That would be...
Is that 4 or 5?
5.
5.
5. Yeah, because that's Tina. Tina's boyfriend.
Tina! It's all you hear for 20 minutes is just Tina. But that was the only input I had in that episode, basically. Everything else I just gotta sit back and listen, because at the time I didn't see anything.
So we had to take a break because I am drinking a giant cup of water and a Pepsi at the same time, and really had to pee. So funny story, if you guys are watching the video, you'll kind of see this. When me and my wife got married, John, who I've known since I was 3, who was my best man, gave a speech at our wedding, and one of the things he talked about is how long he has known me and how well he has known me, and he knows me so well that he knows my pee-pee dance, as he put it. So he knows when I have to pee. Apparently I start dancing and moving around a little bit as I'm trying to find a polite way to tell someone, all right, I got to cut this conversation short so I can go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And if you watch this video, you will see me kind of bouncing around and moving around in my chair. Yeah, so that is my chair pee-pee dance. Now you all know about it.
This is why I do this. The little inside information. Oh, it's okay. This is towards the very, very end, so it's okay.
We were talking about Halloween 4.
We were talking about Halloween 4.
The boyfriend Michael in the car.
Yes.
Tina's boyfriend.
And
I'm sorry, 5. Halloween 5.
Halloween 5, yes.
Tina, her boyfriend Michael, but not Michael Myers
Yeah.
in the car.
And that was my only contribution to that Halloween podcast, because you asked me a question, because everything else I was kind of just sitting back listening to you and Reek.
I felt bad. Like, I want to get you involved. So you did that kind of on our first episode too, when you first guest starred.
Okay.
If you listen back, you kind of sat back and you popped in every now and then, but you more so waited to get engaged. And that's something that you've improved on a lot, is input and not waiting to be asked questions. And because, again, I had my wife on before you.
Yeah.
And I've had, other guests on, so I kind of get into a groove.
Yeah.
But most of the people were familiar with me and knew me, so they know that they can just interrupt me and cut me off.
Yeah.
I didn't think about the fact that somebody who's never worked with me before and hadn't been podcasting for a long time might be a little nervous about just getting in there.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot, and you just kind of sat there for most of it until I was like, oh shit. So Katie, how'd you feel about that?
Yeah.
And now here you are doing interviews, hosting your own show.
Yeah.
You have come a very long way in 10 months.
Thank you. Yeah. Wow. It's weird. It's weird to think about. Like, I've only been doing this for a year and like 2 months.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Every time I say that, I just think of the Paul Rudd gif of "Look at us." Who would have thought? Because I say that's my one friend all the time. So Matt.
Yeah.
I have asked you a plethora of questions. Do you have any questions for me? Podcast relating, personal, whatever you want to know.
Any questions for you?
Yes.
With the She Lead Showcase, now being your primary brand, I suppose it's your main podcast, you and Savannah doing that, you have these side projects.
Yeah.
Going forward, what are your goals? Is She Lead Showcase going to be the brand under which all these other podcasts exist? Do you plan on expanding outside of wrestling, or just kind of sticking with wrestling and wrestling podcast? What do you plan on doing going forward?
Okay.
With this?
So, She Lead Showcase is the brand.
Yeah.
It also just happens to be the weekly show Savannah and I do. Because when we were trying to think of a name, we liked that it was catchy. It fit us, and when we decided to leave, more so when I decided to leave and she was sticking with me, I was like, well, I want to keep She Lead Showcase because that's something you and I created together. It works for us. People know us by this. We'll keep it. And she was really adamant on doing a New Japan show, even though you don't think it's real. No, you're just gonna make a face. I thought you were gonna say something.
Did you want me to elaborate on the fact that New Japan is like Santa's Village?
New Japan is a real thing, Matt.
Yeah, that's what you guys keep saying.
Sad Yoshi is a person, I'm telling you.
Okay. I mean, I saw him on AEW. Yeah, he's a real person. It's all of these other people like Evil that you guys talk about, or Hiroshima Tamagotchi, like Tetsuya Naito, like all of these other people you guys keep making up. Weird names, by the way.
Yeah, so weird. They're fucking real. It's a real promotion that I don't watch, but Savannah loves, so that's something she's always wanted to do. And
who's your favorite female wrestler from NJPW?
They don't have, like, in New Japan, it's New Japan Pro Wrestling is men, and then there's women promotion in, like, there's a women's promotion in Japan. I just don't know the name of it off the top of my head.
Stardom.
Stardom, yeah.
Yeah. Stardom's real. I know that. But I don't believe that a wrestling promotion could exist that is just men.
Crazy.
Let alone be popular with the women's boom in wrestling. So, again, Santa's Village.
Neither here nor there. But that's something Savannah's always wanted to do. That's something her and I talked about before I brought her on SmackDraw. And interviewing is something I wanted to do, so that's when I thought of this idea, which I'm starting to really much love and do. And then I wanted to do a collab show because, like you said, you do a lot of collaborations, and at this point so have I, because I'm either on your show or I'm on Young Kings, and I'm always with you guys. So I liked the idea of kind of us all just like hanging out on a show, like the Super Show we did. That was
something.
That was something.
Was mostly me and Reek just giving you shit for bringing us on a show and not having a plan.
Mm-hmm. But good content. Your daughter made a cameo.
She did.
Very entertaining.
She did not want to sleep that night.
Nope. No, she did not. But that's okay. But going forward, I want, like, Sheely to just be the brand. I personally would like to branch out of wrestling, because yes, this is something I love and I've loved since I was a kid. But there's other stuff I'm interested in. Like, I kind of briefly touched on about it with Reek, and with you, Harry Potter is something I've been a huge fan of. I have a Harry Potter tattoo on the back of my neck. In college, I was the president of a Harry Potter club. I don't want to talk about it. That's for a different
I mean, you already talked about it. You already mentioned it. Like, you put it out there.
To be fair, it was a service club that just happened to be Harry Potter oriented. So
a service club.
Yeah. So there's clubs in college where it's like the one I was a part of was like the university program board, where they brought in the concerts and the comedians and speakers. That was more like of a social type club and kind of a service club. But for the Harry Potter club, I was at one point president of, whatever. We would do like clothing drives. We would go down to the soup kitchen downtown in Pittsburgh, stuff like that.
So you did community service.
Yeah.
In a Harry Potter themed club.
Yes.
Did you all dress up as Harry Potter characters when you went to go do community service? That is a big miss, and I am very disappointed.
Well, I'm sorry.
You all needed to have your wands and Hogwarts robes on.
I don't.
As you went out and picked up trash and fed the homeless. Could have waved the wand around the pot of stew.
Get the fuck out of here. But besides my love of Harry Potter, I'm also like a big movie person. I have a minor in creative writing which I feel like I've talked about before, and you're the second person. Reek was like, oh, like, I didn't know that. Like, that's the face you make. And I thought I've said that before, but I guess I haven't.
I don't remember you saying you had a minor in creative writing.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember you mentioning that you took courses or you were into creative writing. I don't remember the minor part.
Yeah, graduated... after 5 years, I graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Social Work and a Creative Writing minor. Yeah, and I'm podcasting. I don't really need that degree. It's fine. I'll find a way to use it eventually. Maybe. I actually at one point was contemplating going to get my master's in journalism, but that's a lot of money that I do not have to go do. And that's more loans I would have to take out and have to pay back eventually. So we're not going to do that. I could just do this.
You could probably do it in New Jersey. I hear it's really cheap to live there.
I don't want to go to New Jersey. I'm fine in Pittsburgh.
What?
I'm fine in Pittsburgh, thank you.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I do eventually want to branch out and do other things, podcast relating. I'm also like really big into music, which I feel like people know, but maybe don't know. If I'm wearing a tank top, you can usually see my tattoo right here, which is music related. And then I have one on my wrist. I want a music related sleeve once I like come up with the ideas based off music that has like kind of inspired me, like an old school microphone for like Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, old school music like that. I have ideas. I just need to like sketch them and then find an artist that like I trust and I want to do my whole sleeve. So I'm really big into music, so maybe something on music I'll eventually do. But I do eventually want to branch out.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions for me?
I mean, do you want to talk about Sunday Fun Day or?
That's not a thing. So.
Oh, okay. So. No, then.
I mean, there's nothing to talk about for Sunday Fun Day, so I don't know.
Okay.
Much like Santa's Village in New Japan, Sunday Fun Day didn't happen.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, that's all I got. No.
No, you wanted to talk about Sunday Fun Day?
I hear reports from one person that Sunday Fun Day happened. I hear reports from another person that didn't. I don't know.
Well, I can say that Sunday Fun Day did not happen.
And again, you said I could ask you questions, and you could ask me questions. If you don't want to talk about it, you say fuck off. So just tell me fuck off. That works.
Fuck off.
Okay.
There you go. But if you have nothing else you want to ask me, or I can let you think about it for a second.
What do you feel like over this last year, as we've talked about with podcasting and a lot of things in your life, a lot's happened.
Mm-hmm.
What is either the moment you're most proud of, or what do you think was the most courageous thing you've done in the last year or so?
God.
Thing you're most proud of, took the most to do, because like you said, you went from having a creative writing degree in social work to having no podcasting experience and jumping into a podcast and doing this with no experience whatsoever. There's other stuff that's happened recently that, with Pride Month and everything that we had you on for that.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. So of all the stuff that's kind of happened in your life over the last year, what's the thing you're probably most proud of doing?
I mean, an easy answer could be coming out. So the thing with coming out was, for those who don't know, I am bisexual. Surprise if you didn't know that. And my thirst of Sonya Deville should have been a key indicator of that, but that's okay. Maybe I wasn't as aggressive with that. Or maybe I was too subtle. Who knows? But a lot of people in my life knew or had inclinations, like you and Reek, and ironically enough, Kevin knew. Yeah, as weird as that is, and like people in my personal life knew, but I ended up going down to Pride Month, or the Pride Parade in the beginning of Pride Month, and a lot of my friends are gay. Like my best friend of 20 years, who is basically my little brother, is gay. So I was gonna be supported by people regardless. And actually, I dealt with like no backlash, which is kind of fucking weird because I expected something. Because there's always that one person in your life who's just like, I don't know, little sketchy. But thankfully, I'm one of the lucky ones, and I never had to deal with any backlash like that. So I could say coming out, but I feel like that's too easy. Because it actually was like an easy thing. I literally just made a post on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I was just like, surprise, I'm bi. Ta-da! Here's me from Pride. Here you go. She Lead Showcase, I'm definitely proud of. I'm very proud of everything I've been able to do with this, starting from SmackDraw and being thrown onto 3 shows, and then it got cut down to 2. At one point, doing 6 shows a week before I got my wisdom teeth taken out because I didn't want to leave anyone hanging, and I was only gone for a week, and I could have been gone.
You have a hard
longer.
time telling people no.
I do have a hard time telling people no. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm getting better at it, though. I will say that.
Yeah, like Sunday Funday, you absolutely said no.
Because Sunday Funday didn't happen.
Talking about it didn't happen.
Exactly. It didn't happen, so I don't know why you keep bringing it up. This fictional thing. I don't know.
I'm just saying, that's one of the things you got better at, was saying, no, we're not going to talk about that. Because it didn't happen.
But there were instances on SmackDraw where you were there. The infamous podcast where everything went wrong and I was stuck by myself. Do you remember this?
No, I know what you're talking about. Just so, from where I was sitting when this happened, where you lost your co-host, and then you had to finish the show by yourself.
Yeah.
And the producer was sick and not answering his phone to come and get you out of it, so you just stayed on the stream for hours. Like, I told you, just hang up.
I know.
Like, it was a very simple solution in that case. Was you just end the call.
I know that now. At the time, that was when I was still really new, and I was just like, what the fuck do I do in this situation? I should have just listened to you in the first place. That was actually like my first interaction with you, was through that.
Yeah, one of the first ones.
Because then
that's where you learned.
Yeah.
That Matt gives good advice and I should listen to him.
Yeah, because I think you messaged me afterwards. You're just like, you did fine, it's okay. And like, that's basically where the advice started with you.
I was telling you to hang up. You should have listened to me and hang up.
Well,
in the chat.
And then you messaging me afterwards, telling me it was fun, and I did everything.
Well, you were freaking out.
I was, and I have a tendency to do that because I'm an overthinker. And I don't like expressing my emotions on a podcast, even though I know it's okay, and I for some reason I choose not to. Like the most recent one we did when we were talking about everything with the Plane Ride from Hell, I was close to tearing up, and I stopped myself and I kind of like took a few breaths and I was like, I'm gonna breathe this one out. But come the Sheely Showcase, no holds barred, I'm gonna be a mess talking about it because it's something that hits close to home, but not in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm going to be talking about. But bringing it back to the original question, I am most proud of everything I've been able to do with Sheely Showcase and just podcasting in general, because a year ago I definitely don't think I would have been here doing this.
Yeah. It was a big fucking spider.
Oh my god. Is it gone? Did you kill it? Or what's going on?
No, I didn't kill it. I haven't moved. I saw it, and I'm keeping an eye on it to see if it comes my way, and then I will kill it.
Oh my god. Anything else you would like to ask me?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, that's fair. And that's
Did Reek have a bunch of questions for you?
I think he had like 1 or 2.
Did he ask you about Sunday Funday?
No, because it didn't fucking happen.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Oh my god. Jesus. So, before we go, Matt, tell the people where they can find you and your podcast and, you know, all the... You gotta pitch yourself here.
You can find me at MattRidder, MattRidder on Twitter only. Also, you guys can find us at Smackin' It Raw Pod on Twitter and Instagram. I run the Twitter. Vince runs the Instagram. That is Smackin' It Raw Pod. Creation World is the umbrella under which the Smackin' It Raw podcast exists. So you can find us at creationworld.com, Facebook /Creation World. The Creation World on Twitter and Instagram. That's THECREATIA World. Also, we have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/groups/smacking it raw. And if you're a fan of the DC universe and all the fun stuff over there on the CW, there's a podcast for that too that I am very ever rarely allowed to be on, and that is Super Flashy Arrow of Tomorrow, which is also at facebook.com/Super Flashy Arrow or facebook.com/groups/Super Flashy Arrow of Tomorrow. And everywhere you find the stuff that's in my link tree at Matt Ritter, you can find that other podcast as well.
Yeah. And for Sheely Showcase, all things like that, the link tree is in my bio, my Twitter at KatieRaskin13. We don't have an Instagram yet because we'll get there eventually. But I have the link tree, like I said, in my bio. That takes you to Anchor and the audio, our YouTube channel. Feel free to follow, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And then our Twitch, twitch.tv/Sheely Showcase, all one word. Follow us over there too. Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be live every Thursday, unless something happens. Usually nothing's happening. So, right now we're competing with Dark Side of the Ring every week. But, like, I'm not going to change the time because it works best for Savannah and myself, so I usually just catch Dark Side of the Ring the next night. Actually, the next day, because they put it on YouTube.
I was going to say that'll end soon, and then everyone that's watching Dark Side of the Ring will come over and watch you guys. By the way, it is criminal that you only have like 300 followers on Twitter. You guys all need to go follow her immediately.
Yeah, I haven't had this Twitter long, actually. I think I've only had it for like 2 years.
Still, with everything you've done with Young Kings and me and with Smacked Raw and all the times you've plugged yourself, and now that Sheely is out on its own, so that is where you will find all of the info for the Sheely Showcase should you be on Twitter and want to be updated as to when, where, how, and what is going on. You definitely need to go follow them and get those numbers up. 5,000 of you are following me for no fucking reason. Go follow Katie.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I want to give a shout out to Justin, our guy at Heel Tactics.
Underscore.
I have his information in the bio of the YouTube video and actually in the audio version now that I figured out how to transfer everything. He's created the music for this intro, the Sheely Showcase, Savannah show, and the collab show that will be coming out sometime in October. I haven't decided when yet. We appreciate everything he's done. Matt is the one who introduced me to him, and he's made fantastic music for Matt and for Getcho. That's our dude. Go support him. He's good people. We love Justin. Looked like you wanted to say something.
No, I agree 100%. Justin is fucking awesome, and he deserves all of your business. So if you are doing a podcast, you want a custom intro song, you have an idea what you want to sound like, go hit up at Heel Tactics _ or at Jlan on the beat everywhere else, and he will hook you up with something really fucking cool. So, good dude.
Very good dude. Very nice guy.
Almost too nice to be friends with me.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like you're polar opposites. I don't know how I feel about it. But you brought him into your little circle, as you were talking about before. We all love him. Him and his... Oh, how did Justin say it on the last episode you guys did? His half-brother?
Yeah. His black twin.
Yes. Justin from Getcho will be the next episode of Inside the Mind of. So stay tuned for that. I can't wait to do that, actually. It's going to be a great time. But for Mr. Matt Ritter himself, I am Katie Kinsey, baby. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.